Hello folks, and welcome back to Math with Captain Ron. This is going to be video 2 here of a series on the composition of functions. So what we're going to do is, given these two functions, f of x equals minus x cubed minus 7 and g of x equals x plus 1, we're going to take a look at what f of g of x is and what g of f of x is. Alright, so again, here's the important part. F of g of x means we are going to take g of x and we are going to sub it in for x into this function here. So what that's going to look like, here's g. So again, the idea is that this is going to go into there. And here's what that's going to look like, minus x plus 1 cubed when we take this and sub it right there, and then we have this minus 7. And that's done. Now we're going to look at g of f of x. Right? And what this means is we're going to take f of x and it's going to go into g in the place of x. So on the right hand side, that's going to go right there. So here's what that's going to look like. We're taking this, subbing it in here. So that's going to read minus x cubed minus 7. I'm going to put parentheses here. All right? That's for that x plus 1. And that's done. All right. Next examples. Get rid of this. Now what we're going to do, let's see, it says in the notes here, let f of x equal x squared plus 4, and g of x is equal to 2x minus 7. And we're going to find a bunch of things, starting with f of g of 3. Now, there's a couple things we could do here. We could find f of g of x first and then put 3 in, or we can find g of 3 and put that into f. I'm going to go ahead and do that in this example. G of 3 is equal to 2 times 3 minus 7. I'm getting that by taking 3 and plugging it in here for x. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. So this is equal to f of minus 1, which is going to be, now I'm looking for my function f here, minus 1 squared plus 4. Negative 1 squared is 1, plus 4 is 5. So f of g of 3 is equal to 5. All right, next one. Now we're going to find g of f of 3. Again, I'll go ahead and I think I'll do this the same way. Start by finding f of 3. So f of 3 we're going to get by plugging 3 in for x into the function f. And here's our function f. So that's going to be 3 squared plus 4, which is 9 plus 4, which is 13. Now we're going to take this 13 and it's going to be plugged in here because that's what f of 3 is. So that's now going to read g of 13 equals, and here's our function for g, so that's going to be 2 times 13 minus 7, which is 26 minus 7, which I believe is 19. All right, so there's the first two examples. 2 more on the page. I'm going to have to get rid of this stuff here. Right. Next example here we're going to do, let's see, f of g of x. And what this means is we're going to take g and it's going to go in for x into this function here and ultimately there. So what that's going to look like, we're going to take our function g, 2x minus 7, it gets plugged into here, so that's going to be 2x minus 7 squared plus 4. This can be expanded out, but I'm not going to bother with that. Example, this was example 3. Okay, example 4, g of f of x. Again, the big thing is realizing what that means, and what that means is we're going to take f of x and it's going to go into the function g for x. which means it's going to ultimately go there. So that means we're going to take this function and it gets plugged right there. So get rid of this stuff here. What does that look like? Taking this function, plugging it here, that's going to be 2 times x squared plus 4, and then minus 7. All right, so this can be distributed. Why don't we do that? We'll simplify this one a little bit. All right, that's going to be a 2x squared. This is going to be plus 8 minus 7, so that's going to end up with a plus 1. All right, so we have these two functions now for f of g of x and g of f of x. If you wanted to, you could go back to examples 1 and 2, where we found f of g of 3 and g of f of 3, and verify that we did it piecewise, found g of 3 first and then plugged it into x, or into f, but you can also do this by taking, let's see where to go, f of g of x, that's this function. You should be able to plug 3 in for x right there, get the same numerical value that we got before. For g of f of 3, where we found f of 3 and then plugged it into g, you can also plug 3 into g of f of x. Right? So here's my function, g of f of x. You should be able to plug 3 into this example right here and get the same value we got before. So anyway, I hope that this video helps with how to evaluate the composition of functions. Have a great day.